So welcome back. In this episode I'm going to be looking at bending the sides. So the bit I've been putting off, and it's made from 3 laminated pieces, so let's see how it goes. It's made up of maple on the outside and then essentially this plywood stuff on the inside. Now I've got a bunch of maple sheets with the grain going across that it's going to be hard to use. However, it's very bendy, so I figure I'm going to use that. I'm going to try using that 'cause that'll give me the strength that way, which is where I want it when it's a guitar side. So what I've done is cut 3 strips as accurate as I can to the actual depth that I need. And the reason I've done that first is that once it's bent into shape, it's going to be much more difficult to trim. When it's like this, I can just cut it with a knife or put it through a bandsaw. But once it's shaped, I've got to hold it somehow flat and try and plane it, so that will be difficult. So if I use it the right size first of all and then bend that into shape, then hopefully it'll work. Clearly I'm going to have to steam the wood to get it around these fairly tight curves. So I'm going to use the same approach that I did last time. I've got a plastic bag. This is a long thin one. And what I'm going to do is bend all 3 at the same time. Now the reason for that is because if you look at the mould that I've made it so that we can use it to press the wood together when we're gluing it, and so it's got a gap which is 3. So it makes sense to press all 3 at the same time. Only have to steam it once, and then if it doesn't work I can always try them individually again. So all I'm doing, I'm getting them into the bag, getting them all nice and lined up, lengthwise as well, and this is why I've left this gap at the top here that you can see. And what I can do, if I take away that part, I can fold over the end and that can fit in there. And with it fitted in there, that means when I come to press this in place, this is all held in place, and I can just press that in and we'll get that will stay up there. This will bend there, this will bend there. I'm not going to push it too hard now or it'll snap, and we'll be good to go. The other thing I'm going to do is to clamp this bit solid onto the bench so that I can just push this in when I need to, and then I can hold it all in place to set. That's the theory. So let's zip it up, ready for the steam. So this end here is an open end, so I've just folded it over and I can put some bulldog clips on it. Now I will need some steam to be able to escape, otherwise this whole thing will explode. But, and then at the other end I'm going to use my trusty wallpaper stripper to provide all of the steam. And here's the final setup. So I've got this wedged in the end, I've got bulldog clips on here, bulldog clips at this end, and I've also put a little extension piecing because I know once this bag gets hot it will kind of all sag and the pipe will drag and it will bend all the wood. So the wood's all supported as far back as this now, and this is all clamped in place. So all I need to do once this is hot, just push this in place and that should be it. So let's switch on the steam. So the steam's steaming. We'll leave that now for 10 minutes. And you can see I've made a hole at the end and it's also leaking out the front. What I don't want is for the thing to explode. Right, it's time to go for it. So I'm leaving the steam on. Undo the one at the end a little bit to let a bit more out, so I need this to deflate somewhat. There we go. Right, we're still steaming it, so it should still be good. Let's make sure all this is in place, in the right place as it should be, which looks good. And then I'm going to push this in as gently as I can, allowing it to come back. And make sure it's all down. Okay, there's the steam just fallen off. Okay, it's quite tight, but it's in. So now I've got my clamp. That's the thing's just fallen out of. clamp it in place. Okay. Note to self, buy a new clamp that's got a proper thing in it. Right, that looks like it's bent all right. Let's leave it to cool and see what we've got. It's time to unpack it, see if it's worked. So, let's get the bulldog clips off. Undo the thing. I can just about do my fingers. That should come off. Well, it's not springing back out, so I think it's found its shape. It's just a case of whether or not it's broken or anything. So that comes out nicely. Still feels warm inside actually. Perhaps you should have left it a little bit longer. And take it out. And now I simply remove it, he said, from the bag. So of course, it's easier said than done because the bag has obviously taken its shape as well. So probably be best to pull it out from this end, where the shape is the most significant. There it is, and it seems to have pretty much, it's a lot looser than the shape because obviously it needs to be pushed back into here. In order to dry. That's looking all right. Put it back in. Now what I'll do is clamp that up again, and then we'll leave it there to dry for a few days, and then hopefully that'll be good to go. It's a little bit dodgy at this end. I'll show you what I've done. So these aren't quite in far enough, so this is right on the edge, but I think we'll get away with it just. So when I do the next one, just got to be a little bit more careful. But overall, that's looking pretty good. So we'll leave it for a couple of days to dry, and then we'll see if it comes out. So now that it's all in shape, what I've done is I've replaced the main piece of wood here with some cable ties. So that will allow the wood now to just dry out. So it's all still holding its shape. We just put cable ties in relevant positions, and that should now go inside, and in a few days hopefully that will be dry. Now if you've been following some of my other videos, you'll know that I hate wasting things, and cable ties is one of those things. It seems a shame to throw away all that plastic, and all you need to do to get them out, if you get a tiny little flat-headed screwdriver, there's a little tab in here, and if you stick it in through the corner you can just release the cable tie. If I get it right, lift up the little tab and it should just come undone like that. You can leave the screwdriver in and that will then just pull out, and there we go, one cable tie that you can then reuse. And this is it out of the mould, and you can see the shape's not perfect. It's all where it's shrunk and come away, but that's okay. The only problem, as I said, is the fact that these things have shrunk so much. You can see how much the maple has shrunk in comparison to the plywood. It's the same at the other end, so it really has shrunk. It's like a good 2 inches. It's incredible. It might not even be usable, but I'm going to glue these together anyway, just to make sure that the whole technique works. So what I'm going to do is, if I rearrange them into the right order, so we've got plywood in the middle, what I'm going to do is stick it back in the mould with glue in between, and then we'll put the top back on. Now the thing I need to do is to make sure that when I glue it, that the wood does not stick to the mould, and this is how I do that. I've got the mould and I've got another trusty bin liner. I'm going to put the bin liner over the mould, press it down into shape. Oh, it's not quite long enough. do it diagonally. Shame to waste a bin line. Okay, so push that into shape. That fits that way. And then I can start to sort of shape that into where it needs to be. And then I can start sticking it in place with some of this. Now that's done and in place, but as you can see, it's not much good. It's very sort of flippy floppy, you can't see it. So this is where a secret weapon, our old friend the heat gun, comes in. So what we can do is very gently, if I heat this, it'll start to shrink. Now I've got to be careful because it's very easy to blow holes in it. But you can see that when I start, it will start to shrink. So here we go. And you can see straight away that's a much better fit now. It's still not perfect, it's still got lumps and bumps in it, but that's fine, that will work. So that can go back on here. And what I'm going to do is repeat the process that we used for bending it, but this time with glue in between. Now what I'm going to use is some water-based wood glue, mostly because it's easier. I don't have to worry so much in this instance about warping and that kind of thing. So especially as it's going to be in this jig. That's the three pieces together, or at least the three pieces with glue on them. I can now slide them into place in the mould. And then crucially I'm pushing them all down so that they're all level, so I don't get a strange up and down sort of thing going on. Okay, and then it's exactly the same as before. Push this into place like that. So gently at first, and while I'm here, again I'm pushing them all down, using my fingernail at the moment, just so that they're all level. This one is sticking up considerably, that one is. So they have sort of a natural place they want to go to, and I'm trying to force them to not do that, but to do what I want them to do. Right, and then find my clamp, which I've lost. Here it is. That goes on again, like that. Tighten that into place. Okay, that is looking good. There is the odd gap here and there, but generally speaking, that's all together. I can now leave that in there for a good couple of hours or so to dry, and then we'll come back and see what we've got. So a few hours later, I've taken the clamp off. Now let's see if it'll come out without having stuck. Yep, that's not too bad. Perfect. Now that's holding its shape much better than it was individually. So there we are. Let me hold it so you can see one guitar shape. Now, it's not quite perfect. You can see there's a bit of a loop there, but otherwise it's pretty good, and it's pretty good. It's pretty solid in its shape. So there we are. There's the first, potentially the first side. There's a bit of cleaning up to do around the edges here. There's a bit where it broke, in fact. I did that earlier when I was a bit heavy-handed with it. But generally speaking, and on the outside, it's good. It's all excellent. So that one's ready to go. So we've ended up with a side that holds its shape and looks like it should. Lamp 3 laminations, and it's looking all right. So hope that was useful. Hope that was interesting. Please press subscribe if you want to, and maybe I'll see you next time.